Drive out through our settlement on any summer evening, and you'll pass gardens that look like they were lifted out of your great-grandfather's photograph album. Glass panes tilted over wooden boxes, bean poles tied into living green tents, ropes of onions hanging in the shed like garlands. Folks slow their cars and take pictures, and I always want to tell them, there's nothing fancy here. We're just still doing what everybody used to do. I want you to stop and think about this for a minute. There was a time when American backyards weren't for mowing and grilling. They were for feeding families. Every yard had its cold frame, its rhubarb patch, its root cellar. Then came the supermarkets, the lawn culture, the plastic everything, and one by one, these 15 things disappeared from the American backyard. All but forgotten, except in one place. Let me tell you who I am. My name is Jacob Miller. I'm an Amish farmer out in the Holmes County settlement here in Ohio, and my wife is Rebecca. And I'll be honest with you about that title straight off, the way I always am. When it says America forgot these 15, it's the plain truth. And when it says the Amish still use everyone, that's the truth too. On our farms, these aren't nostalgia. They're Tuesday. Let me walk you through all 15, the way I'd walk you through our own place. Before we get into it, if you like learning the old ways of doing things, do two small things for me. Tap that like button down there. It helps this little channel more than you'd ever guess. And subscribe, so you can keep learning right alongside Rebecca and me. That's all I'll ask of you, friend. I promise you that much. Now, 15 forgotten things, and every one of them still earning its keep. Number 1, the cold frame. Before greenhouses were common, gardeners built miniature ones. A low wooden box with an old window pane set at an angle on top. The sun's heat gets trapped inside, and a chilly spring morning turns into a 70-degree paradise for lettuce, spinach, and carrots. Seeds start weeks earlier, greens keep growing well into winter, and it costs nothing but scrap lumber and a salvage storm window. No electricity, no thermostat, just glass, wood, and know-how. We start our whole spring in ours. Number 2, the bean teepee. Long before plastic playhouses, children had something better. A few tall poles tied at the top, runner beans planted at the base. By midsummer, the vines close it in, and the kids have a shady living hideaway that also happens to feed the family beans all season. It kept children outdoors and in the garden, and it still does. If you have grandkids, build one this year. You'll be the hero of the summer. Number 3, the victory garden. During the war years, nearly every American home had one. Tomatoes, carrots, lettuce, potatoes in the backyard, rooftops, and community plots in the cities. It was patriotism, yes, but mostly it was self-sufficiency. The habit faded when the grocery store took over the job of feeding people. Around here it never faded because the job never got handed over. A garden that feeds your family isn't a hobby, it's the point. Number 4, the rhubarb patch. Every old garden had one, tucked by the fence or the garage, and it asks for almost nothing. Harsh winters, neglect, poor soil, and still sends up thick tart stalks every spring for pies, jams, and sauces. Strawberry rhubarb pie, friend, is worth the price of admission all by itself. Plant it once and it outlives you. Visit any old farmhouse and you'll likely spot a forgotten patch still hanging on, decades after the gardener who planted it. Number 5, companion planting. Before pesticides came in bottles, gardeners knew that certain plants look after each other. Marigolds keep the bugs off the tomatoes. Basil at the tomatoes' feet makes the fruit taste better. Beans feed nitrogen to the corn, and squash shades the ground so weeds can't start. Folks called it an old wives' tale until the science caught up and found it was an old wives' fact. It costs nothing. It asks only that you pay attention, and it works. Generation after generation. Number 6. The root cellar. Before refrigerators, families kept their harvest underground. A cool, dark cellar that holds potatoes, carrots, onions, apples, cabbages, and canned goods for months, using not 1 watt of electricity. Modern houses were built without them, and the knowledge went with them. Ours is full every fall, and it keeps the garden feeding us clear through to spring. It's the quietest appliance you'll ever own. Number 7. The grape arbor, a wooden frame covered in thick twisting vines dripping with fruit by midsummer. Shade, pollinators, beauty, and a harvest for fresh eating, juice and jellies all from one planting. It used to be a point of pride. Then grapes became something from a plastic bag at the store, and the arbors came down. Plant one by the garden gate, and in a few years, you'll wonder how the yard ever looked right without it. Number 8, the asparagus bed. Here's a vegetable that teaches patience. Plant it, and you wait about 3 years before it truly produces. But once it's established, a bed can feed a family for 20 years. Some old patches are 50 years in and still sending up spears every spring, fat as your thumb and sweet as anything in the garden. Our grandparents planted asparagus the way you'd plant an orchard, as an inheritance, something handed down with the place itself. Rebecca's uncle still cuts from a bed his father planted, and that man has been gone 30 years. But every April, he feeds the family again. In a world that wants results by Friday, the asparagus bed is a quiet sermon on waiting. Number 9, the olla. This one's ancient, and it came up through the old homesteads of the Southwest. An unglazed clay pot buried up to its neck, filled with water. The water seeps slowly through the porous clay straight to the roots. No timers, no drip lines, no waste. It saves water, it trains roots to grow deep, and it asks almost zero effort. Your great-grandparents may have used one without ever knowing its name. Permaculture folks are just now rediscovering it and calling it genius. We just call it sensible. Number 10, the cloche. Before plastic tunnels and row covers, gardeners shielded young plants with small bell-shaped glass covers, little individual greenhouses against frost, pests, and sudden cold snaps. A spring garden full of them glistened like a row of snow globes sitting in the soil. A cut-off glass jug works the same today. Simple, elegant, effective. And it means you plant when the soil is ready, not when the calendar gives permission. Number 11, the stink bucket. This one's for the truly committed. Toss comfrey leaves, nettles, or fish scraps into a bucket of water. Let it sit a few weeks, strain off the liquid, and you have a potent fertilizer packed with nutrients for free. It smells awful. The garden loves it. Old gardeners used to say the stinkier the bucket, the better the soil. And they were right. The garden centers sell odorless plant food in pretty bottles. The bucket costs nothing and works better. Your nose will forgive you by harvest time. Number 12, the onion braid. After harvest, onions weren't tossed in crates. They were braided by their tops into long twisted ropes and hung in the shed or the pantry, where they keep for months in the cool, dry air. A good braid was a point of pride, and honestly, it's beautiful. A work of art that's also a storage method. Hang one in your kitchen and watch every visitor ask about it. Then teach them. That's how these things stay alive. Number 13, the strawberry patch. Tiny sun-warmed berries from a patch that spreads a little every year. Smaller than store berries and sweeter than anything a clamshell ever held, because store berries are bred for shelf life, and these are bred for nothing but flavor. The plants take a year to establish, then send out runners and multiply on their own. What the old folks knew, a single patch, once started, is fruit for years, for the price of one spring's patience. Number 14, the hanging herbs. When thyme, oregano, sage, and rosemary came ready, they were bundled and hung upside down from the rafters to dry, the whole house smelling like a natural apothecary. Weeks later, they'd be crumbled into jars for stews and teas all winter. Those bunches were decoration and pantry at once. The herbs in the little tin from the supermarket were grown by nobody you know, somewhere you'll never see. The bunch on your rafter has a story. And number 15, the one that matters most. The sharing. When the tomatoes exploded in August, you didn't let the extras rot and you didn't post a picture. You packed a basket and carried it to the neighbors. Zucchini appeared on porches like quiet gifts. Cucumbers were traded for eggs. Canning jars traveled up and down the road and always came back full of something different. Nobody kept score and everybody came out ahead. Of all 15, this is the one America can least afford to forget. And the one that costs the least to bring back, because it starts with a single basket on a single porch. The garden was never just about growing food. It was about growing neighbors. Now here's where it all comes together. 15 things. The cold frame and the teepee, the patch and the cellar, the arbor and the bed, the olla and the cloche, the bucket and the braid, the berries, the bundles, and the basket carried next door. Not one of them needs a store. Every one of them still works, exactly as well as it ever did. And every one of them is waiting in your own yard for you to bring it back. So let me be straight with you about the title, the way I always am. America forgot. Look at any suburban street and tell me I'm wrong. The Amish still use every one. Come walk our lanes in July and count them for yourself one by one. There's no trick in this title, friend. Just a mirror. And let's do the honest math. A cold frame is scrap lumber and an old window. A bean teepee is sticks and string. A rhubarb crown, an asparagus crown, a strawberry plant planted once, harvested for decades. The whole 15 together cost less than one trip to the garden center. And unlike anything in that store, they get more valuable every year you keep them. So here's what I'd have you do this week. Pick one, just one. Build the teepee with the grandkids. Plant the rhubarb by the fence. Set an old window over a wooden box and start your lettuce early. Braid this year's onions instead of bagging them. One feature, brought back to life in one backyard. That's how a tradition returns. Not by decree, but by dinner tables. And once you see the first one working, you'll be back for the other 14. I know how this goes, friend. It's happened to every one of us, one feature at a time. And bring the little ones in on whichever you choose. The child who hides in the bean teepee this summer will plant a garden of their own in 20 years' time. That's how it worked on me and on mine, and on theirs after that. Now I'd love to hear from you. Tell me down in the comments. Which of these 15 do you remember from your grandparents' place, and which one are you bringing back? Share the memory with the rest of us. Those old ways slip away when nobody passes them on, and I read everyone. Next time, I'll show you something hiding in plain sight in your own home that the old gardeners treasured as fertilizer, and most folks today throw away without a thought. It belongs right alongside everything you learned today. Until then, look at your yard with older eyes. It's not a lawn, friend. It's a farm waiting to be remembered. Plant one old thing, keep one old way, waste nothing, and grow more than you need, so you can share the harvest with the people you love. That's the whole secret, and it always was, all along.